Thank you, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here. I do apologize that I am unable to be there in person, but I'm very honored to get the opportunity to address this esteemed crowd of both educational leaders and faith leaders in our community. As all of you know, back in 2010, my wife and I and our family suffered the worst tragedy that a family can have in the suicide loss of our teenage son, Will Trautwein, who was a freshman at Northview High School at the time. He was 15 years old. He was big and strong and healthy. He was very popular. He was very talented. He was a very good student. He got good grades. He was in a band. He wrote music. He was an accomplished guitarist, pianist, drummer. He was a good athlete. He played lacrosse. He was a leader of his friends, and he had an army of them. And we lost him. And on that morning of October 15th, 2010, when Will died, we were shocked. We were stunned. My wife and I, my family, all of Will's friends, our community, had no idea that our boy was struggling in any way, shape, or form. He was the consultant of his pals. He was the one that they would go to when they were struggling. At that time in our lives, the concept of mental health, concept of depression, anxiety, teen suicide, or suicide in general was simply not in our vocabulary. I never even thought about it. And when it happened to my son, I was so stunned that I thought that somebody may have come into our home and killed him. But that wasn't the case. And within hours of our son's suicide, not days or weeks or months, literally hours, I started getting contacted by suicide education, counseling groups, mental health, depression awareness, and education groups that I didn't even know existed because nobody talks about it. And what we learned very, very quickly is that it seemed like everybody had a story. And we were shocked to find that in our society, suicide and mental health and depression is everywhere. You all are in classrooms, you all have congregations, you have people that you're up in front of every day. What we were shocked to find out is that 1 in 6, 1 in 10, the statistics vary depending upon who you talk to, but 1 in 6 of our kids are suffering from some sort of a mental illness. Notice I didn't say a mental crime. If our kids were suffering from diabetes, if our kids were suffering from another disease of some sort, it wouldn't be swept under the carpet. But mental illnesses have done just that. They've been swept under the carpet because nobody talked about it. Well, my wife and I decided we were going to talk about it, and we were going to just bare our souls and bare our lives to try to help spread this awareness that our kids are struggling and we don't know about it. And I'm not just talking about preventing suicide. I'm talking about preventing sadness. I'm talking about preventing aloneness. I'm trying to improve kids' lives. I'm trying to improve their will to live. I immediately realized that the greatest friends in my own life were those friends that I met when I was a teenager. So the Will to Live Foundation that my wife Susie and I began was dedicated to creating a group or a concept where kids worked to help kids. Who better understands the problems of a teenager than another teenager? We may think we know what's going on in the lives of teenagers, but we don't. And that's okay. And I beg of all of you to understand that it's okay. They get it. They understand each other. Will had so many friends and they were so devastated by his loss. Had he only reached out to them, they would have come to his rescue at a heartbeat. But he didn't know to. And even if he did, they didn't know to listen. So we created this foundation and we worked with these kids and I really got to know them and I was so impressed with them. And I was so proud to see the capability that these guys have, these kids have, to help each other, the desire they have to help each other. Because life as a teenager in 2015 is not easy. In fact, it's hard. And it's harder than the lives of teenagers when we were their age. That's something they don't hear very often, and I tell them every day. The teenagers of today have it harder than their parents, their counselors, their teachers, their coaches, their ministers, their youth group leaders, their scouting leaders, all of the trusted adults in their lives did not have to live in a 24/7 negative, never-ending world that our kids are struggling to get through today. Over the course of the 4 years, we developed, or we worked with various organizations, and we even implemented here in Fulton County the Signs of Suicide program, where we teach and educate the community on the signs of suicide, and many of the schools in Fulton County are going through it today. We're teaching these kids to act. We're teaching these kids to acknowledge, to care, and to tell a trusted adult when they see a friend in need. My boys' friends would have acted had they known how. You acknowledge that it is a difficult world. You acknowledge that your friend is serious. Will took his life. A teenager is taking his life or her life in America every 2 hours. So while we are in this meeting today, a teenager in America will take his life, maybe 2. That's far too many. And it's happening right here in this community. I know this because as part of the Will Live Foundation, I've become this sort of guru of teenage suicide, and every time it happens, I get a call. And it kills me. These kids are struggling, and we don't really know about it. We don't know how to look for it. We don't know how to recognize the signs. So we're committing ourselves to doing just that. But in the meantime, what can we do to help these kids reach out? We're trying to get them to talk, to acknowledge, to care, and to tell an adult. Over the past 4 years, the Will to Live Foundation has played a central role in teaching these kids to act. And I have had the pleasure of seeing it happen in person. Kids helping kids, acknowledging that their friend is struggling, caring for their friend, showing them the love, telling them they love them, dropping a love you man on them, being a true life teammate where you're there for your friend and showing them the good that is indeed in their lives that they may not be able to see. And then finally, to tell a trusted adult. That's us. We teach these kids to try to tell an adult together. They are stronger together. None of us is as strong as all of us. I say it every time I give a speech. By going to the trusted adult and teaching and telling them that they're worried about a friend or they're worried about themselves is an absolute must if we are going to prevent this epidemic from spreading. So what is the role of these trusted adults? What is the role of you teachers and you faith leaders and you counselors and you coaches and you parents? I've spent many a night trying to figure out what I could have done different as an adult to perhaps change the fortunes of my boy, Will. One thing I have learned about the struggles these kids face is the pressure to get into a college. I went to Northwestern University. My wife went to the University of Virginia, 2 very good academic schools. Will got 4 or 5 A's and a B. But society told him that he needs to get straight A's in AP classes in order to get into the University of Georgia. I didn't say that, and I don't even know if that's true. I pray every night that it's not. But that's what our kids think, and that's what society is telling our kids. As a business leader in this community, I do not care where the people I interview went to college. I don't ask them their grade point. I don't even look at their degree. I don't care. I interview the person. I don't interview the degree. And it's our job as trusted adults to get that message to these kids because it is the #1 cause of stress in the lives of teenagers is getting into college or getting into a good college. You know what? They're all good colleges. It's not the college, it's the student. And I beg of the trusted adults in the lives of our kids to take that message to them because when they do get the rejection letter, it will be devastating for them. But 10 years down the road, it's not going to matter. And that is something they do not hear very often. This pressure that they're facing is unlike what we had to face. And we need to show them that. I never did that with Will. I always told him how great it was. I never told him how hard it was. I never showed him that I knew it was hard. A trusted adult knows and shows. We are those trusted adults. And this is not an easy thing, especially for educators. where there's pressure for the school to do well, there's pressure for the classes to do well. But a trusted adult knows and shows that it is a very difficult world that these kids are living in. And we have to find a way to get that message to these kids. It is hard. Unfortunately, it is what it is, and we have to do it. But it's hard. But together we can get through this, because it can also be great. And that is the message of a true trusted adult. I was a professional baseball player for 7 years, and I played sports all my life. When my career ended at age 30 with the Red Sox, I had over 200 coaches. I had many more teachers. You know how many coaches and teachers get Christmas cards from me today? About 10. What is the difference between those 10 that do get a Christmas card and the other 200 to 300 that don't? Those 10 had the capacity and the desire to show me that they love me. They motivated me. They inspired me. And never in the history of society have teenagers needed that more than today. It is a 24/7 negative world. Every single thing they do is online, it's available, it's viewable. Good, bad, ugly. We did not have to deal with it. So it is time for us to spend a little bit more time on a positive passion and a positive focus. And who better to do this than the faith leaders that our kids are dealing with and the educators that our kids are dealing with. I'm not asking you to change your discipline. I'm not asking you to change your ways. I'm asking you to spend a little bit more time on the positive things that these kids do, because they're starving for it. That is a fact. And that is something I have learned by being involved in the Will Live Foundation for the past 4 years. Are you that teacher that students rush home to visit during Thanksgiving of their freshman year in college? You all know who I'm talking about. You all know that trusted adult in your lives when you were a teenager that motivated you, that inspired you, that made you do better. Are you that person in the lives of your students? Are you striving to be that person? You faith leaders, are you pushing your congregation to be that way with the students and their children? It is a negative world, and positive passion works. It is a perfect opportunity to give these kids something positive in their lives, and a positive motivation and inspiration is dramatically needed. And I truly believe that, and I know that you all can do it. It's not going to be easy, but I know that you can do it. The Will to Live Foundation is trying very hard to do it, and we run into our obstacles, but you know what? By showing these kids that we know it's hard is the #1 step. They are begging for some recognition from us that says, yeah, this is hard. This is hard. I didn't have to do this. But unfortunately, you do. So let's do it together. Guys, I don't have the solution. I don't have all of the answers, and maybe that's a good thing. I know my own kids have seemed to respond better to me when I don't have the answer. And together we try to find it. This is not an easy task ahead of us, but it is a great opportunity to bring a positive light into these kids' world. And I love the idea of the faith leaders and the educational leaders doing it together. We're telling kids to love each other. We're telling them to say, love you, man. We're telling them to be life teammates on and off the field. And I don't care what is the source of your faith, what religion you are. Loving somebody is a good thing, and it's well received. You have a real opportunity to positively impact the lives of these kids. And they will remember you for it, and you will feel better as a result. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure for me to be able to address this esteemed crowd. I hope I've been able to motivate you in some way to perhaps do something slightly different tomorrow when you're with those kids. Maybe do something slightly more positive. Maybe save your passion for the good play versus the bad play. Maybe save your passion for the little things, the single, and not wait for the home run. These kids have a great opportunity with you leading them. And I wish you all love and luck and an increased will to live. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.